On September 17, 1859, in the foundling city of San Francisco, a royal house was born. Joshua Abraham Norton had arrived in town just less than a decade before. He had come, as so many before him had, in seek of fresh opportunities and a new start. What he found was something altogether different. The America he found was a place of strife and ruthless ambitions. By September 17, 1859, the issues that would tear the nation apart in little more than 2 years had already started to emerge. Moral outrage over slavery had finally started to come to a head. The resultant civil injustices in several border states became national news. The upcoming presidential election promised to be the most divisive in the young nation's history, as the Republican and Democratic Party polarized the electorate for the first time on such a scale. The newly popular idea of nationalism had both Union loyalists and secessionists talking boldly, confident in their inherent righteousness. This was not the land Joshua Norton had sought. After gaining a small fortune and strong social standing, and then subsequently losing it and falling into poverty and relative obscurity, all in 10 short years, he began to see his new land in a new light. He had thought America to be something new, but it seemed all too familiar to Norton. Having been born in London and lived most of his life prior to adulthood in a newly English South Africa, this was eerily reminiscent for Norton. Instead of seeing the escape from the norm that he had sought in this new land, he simply saw more of the same old empire. The American people already used the word extensively to describe their land. The authoritative, expansive attitude of the government seemed to echo this sentiment. Truly, a voice of the people. There was something different about this empire, though. It was chaotic where it should be ordered, violent where it should be peaceful, divided where it should be united. A power without a focus, a nation without a voice. In short, an empire without an emperor. And so it was that on September 17, 1859, Norton shuffled into the newspaper offices of San Francisco, asking them to publish his first official proclamation, declaring himself Emperor Norton I of the United States. Norton I's reign would last nearly 21 years. Throughout this time, he was unceremoniously ignored by most of the federal government, though he did have contact with Queen Victoria of England, Tsar Alexander II of Russia, and other prominent European leaders. The citizens of his new hometown acknowledged his sovereignty, however. Even his rivals noted that he was always correct in decision and in conduct, and was generally morally and intellectually unassailable. He was a man of the people, offering his imperial wisdom to the citizens of San Francisco as often as listening to their own tales. In the years leading up to the Civil War, he issued numerous proclamations that would have left the conflict unnecessary if they had indeed been heeded. He was the ideological, ethical, and moral anchor the nation needed, even if they chose not to accept. The country cried for an authoritative voice, and simultaneously, petulantly tantrumed at the thought. And by so choosing, the United States set itself to simply repeat the litany of sins and morally corrupt choices it had learned up to that point. That, my fellow citizens, is how we reach the current disquieting state of affairs. Institutional racism runs rampant, a scar still bleeding since the Civil War and before. Civil unrest and injustices lead daily news nearly every day, as the Republican and Democratic parties once again are on the brink of the most divisive election to date. Nationalism turns moral, intelligent, compassionate humans to ideologues and self-righteous zealots. The nation threatens to tear itself down by the same ideals that it once championed. Once again, it is chaotic where it should be ordered, violent where it should be peaceful, divided where it should be united. A power without a focus, a nation without a voice. Once again, we are an empire without an emperor. And so, at the peremptory request and desire of a large majority of citizens of these United States, I, Richard St. Denis, former Duke of Appalachia and lifelong citizen of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, declare and proclaim myself Emperor of these United States. And in virtue of the authority thereby in me vested, do hereby order and direct the representatives of the different states of the Union to assemble in Point State Park of this city at noon on the 17th of October next, then and there to make such alterations in the existing laws of the Union as may ameliorate the evils under which the country is laboring, and thereby cause confidence to exist, both at home and abroad, in our stability and integrity. Thank you.